Hey everybody, I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious. I have another update. In the case of the star named David and the underage girlfriend found decomposing in his trunk. In this episode, you're going to hear from some of the producers who work for my Banfield show on NewsNation. They are on the ground in both David's upscale neighborhood, where even the landscaping looks rich, and Celeste's former neighborhood, where her family was at times struggling just to make things work. The kids who Celeste went to school with, they are starting to talk now too. And you won't believe what some of her middle school girlfriends were saying about David and Celeste back when Celeste was alive and over the moon about her rich Hollywood Hills boyfriend. And don't anybody tell me that you can't keep secrets anymore. That with smartphones and social media and cameras everywhere, that everybody's life is an open book, because I'm going to tell you right now, we've been trying for 3.5 weeks to pry open the secret lives of the singer named David and his dead underage girlfriend, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. And I can tell you right now, you will not find these answers online. My NewsNation team has been on the ground in that fancy, expensive neighborhood where David lived in a $20,000 a month rental. And for the first time, we are now getting a really good look at the lay of the land there, specifically just how far away David's abandoned Tesla was from the front door of that mansion he called home. My NewsNation producers enlisted the help of a private investigator named Steve Fisher, who took us on that very, very short walk between the house and the car.
So we're at the house where David and Celeste were staying. That was rented to his manager. This is it, 3-car garage. Although from rumor is that the garage is actually converted into a gym, and that might be why we see the Tesla parked outside a lot. It does have security cameras, and I think that there's a lot more cameras than just the two you see here. And also the houses around us. I mean, we're looking at a camera right here on my left. So there's probably a lot that was captured. It's a wealthy area. These people value their privacy, and it's a beautiful home. It's also, there's been these rumors about it being a real party house and everything, but the people I've talked to around here said it was very they were very courteous, and it was quiet, and it was not this party house that it was rumored to be. So, I'm sure that we'll learn more about that. But as you can see, all the way up and down this street are homes with lots of, security cameras. So anything coming and going from this house was captured not only by the house's own security system, but by the neighbors. And I'm sure LAPD has either subpoenaed or voluntarily collected all that footage already. And the question becomes, had too much time passed to where they still have it and didn't overwrite. But as you can see, like this house here has a 360 camera right on that pillar. So that would capture anybody coming and going from this area. And this is where the Tesla was parked. We even see it on Google Street View parked right here. So likely that would capture it. And also, these are high-end security systems. They capture sound as well, a lot of them, not just video. So there could also be audio that could capture what was going on, in the house or right outside the house. The Tesla was normally parked right here. The exit from the house is these gates right there where the trash cans are. And then if we just walk up here a little bit and to the left is where, it was left for, what I've heard is more than a month, with her body in it, which is tragic to think about. But it was parked very close by. Again, these are all very high-end homes and with a lot of security. There's more cameras right there. So I think that they'll be able to piece together the movement of the vehicle, and along with the vehicle's own systems, whether even if you didn't have Sentry mode enabled, the car will still capture that GPS data of when it was started and stopped, and where it moved in the last time it was turned off. And it'll also show how many passengers were in it because the seats measure the weight for airbag reasons. So I think there'll be a lot of data garnered. So then where the car will be right down here. And here we have a house that's got all kinds of security. So this corner is where the car was parked and impounded from. So I imagine it's one of these neighbors that ultimately made the call to Department of Transportation to have it towed. And this is the spot right here. It was just past the red curb, parked on the right here. This exactly it right here. This is where she sat for more than a month in the front of the Tesla. Right here, people walking by. Doheny's a very walked street. This Bluebird is a little less walked. Maybe that's why it took a little longer for it to get called in, but eventually it did. This is literally it. This was her tomb for a long time, and it's really sad to think about that. And the house that she was living in is literally catty corner to here, and then she ends up in the front of a Tesla, with people walking by every day, walking their dogs. Just a few minutes ago we saw a 10 or 12-year-old kid walk by. They never knew what they were passing each day, for that month. But again, these houses here all have extensive security systems, and even the houses up on the hill could have cameras that are good enough that they look down at the street, because you don't necessarily just have to have a good enough view of the person. They can see the headlights or whatever maybe of the car parking, and then from there kind of figure out who could have been driving.
About 2 hours drive from David's home up there in the hills, those NewsNation producers of mine also hit the streets of Lake Elsinore. And that's where they learned that a black Tesla that looked a whole lot like David's 2023 Model X was a familiar sight to at least one of Celeste's former neighbors. Have a listen.
We're out here at what we know as Celeste's home that she lived with her family. And right over there is the beautiful memorial we have seen in her honor. But today we confirmed with a neighbor that they had seen a black Tesla coming in and out at all hours in the night. We can confirm it was when Celeste was still here, and that it was near her home. Her home is right here, and the area that the black Tesla was seen was over in this vicinity. There's a parking lot in this area back there, and then there's also street parking. So we were told in this vicinity is where the black Tesla was spotted. Now we cannot confirm that that was actually David's black Tesla, and we can't confirm that Celeste was ever seen going into it, but we can confirm that the neighbor spotted it near her home at all hours of the night. And we're going to keep talking to neighbors and see if we can find out more information to get closer to see what happened to Celeste.
As you'll know if you've been following our coverage on a regular basis, and you know what? We've got a playlist that will get you up to speed. All of the timelines and the background and everything, it's in the description. So by all means, check that out. But if you have been following this, you'll know that official comments and statements are like few and far between, which is rare for the LAPD to be this tight-lipped. You'll also know that David has said even less than the LAPD. In fact, he has said zero. LA Magazine is tonight reporting that he's hired a pretty big gun to represent him, too. If the name Blair Burke doesn't ring a bell, Some of her past clients certainly might. Harvey Weinstein, Mel Gibson, Lindsay Lohan, and Kanye West, they have all turned to Blair Burke when the walls were closing in. So don't count on any news conferences from David anytime soon. Incidentally, my NewsNation team reached out to Blair Burke for a comment, and yep, we're still waiting to hear back. Don't hold your breath. As for Celeste's family, with whom she clearly had a strained relationship, they are off the grid, under the radar. No one's seen them for weeks, certainly not at that home where Celeste originally was living with them. But her former classmates and other students and students' parents in Lake Elsinore, they have described a girl who had few, if any, close friends, except for one. And we now know why she didn't keep that one very special friend a secret for long. After all, it is pretty hard for a 13-year-old girl not to talk about her rich and famous celebrity boyfriend in the Hollywood Hills. But before I get to those young teenage friends and what they had to say about Celeste's love life, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting my podcast. I know that Atlas is pretty thankful too, because as you'll see, he gets the best naps when I'm here in the studio with you. So thank you from Atlas. I also want to thank my sponsors like Incogni. I cover some of the darkest crimes out there, but let me tell you, some of the scariest stuff, it's happening quietly right behind your screen. Your name, your phone number, your home address, it is all floating out there online, not because you gave it away, but because somebody else sold it. Data brokers are tracking you. And they know what you buy. They know what you search. They know what meds you take. They even know where your kids go to school. And now with AI, that's like handing a loaded weapon to a scammer. Imposter scams are on the rise, using AI to fake the voices of your friends and your family. One phone call and suddenly you're wiring money to someone who sounds exactly like your child or your mom in distress. It's chilling, but here's what most people don't know. You actually have the legal right to make those data brokers delete your information. Problem is, doing it yourself could take years. And that's why I use Incogni. Incogni does the dirty work for me. They go straight to these companies and they demand that they remove my personal data. And they'll do it for you too. They even offer a custom plan, unlimited. You flag a site that's exposing your info and Incogni's privacy team goes after it directly. This isn't just peace of mind. This is power. So if privacy matters to you like it does to me, and it should, just go to incogni.com/dropdead and use the code DROPDEAD for 60% off. You're welcome. That's again, incogni.com/dropdead and use the code DROPDEAD. And by the way, share it with your friends. Again, you're welcome. Start taking your data off the market. Okay, and now to the teenage friends of Celeste who knew her in middle school and said there she was showing pictures all around school of her very special boyfriend. Here's my NewsNation producer, Courtney Kolinsky, who spoke with those kids today.
So we talked to a student that went to school with Celeste, and she did confirm that Celeste showed a few classmates photos of her and David. She said that she was in a relationship with the singer David, and she wasn't shy about telling the few people in this classroom that she had a relationship with David and even showed photos of him. Now, this is the little bit of information that we've actually been able to get, and we have talked to over 100 students. We have asked them if they knew Celeste, if they've seen Celeste. A lot of the students have confirmed they went to middle school with Celeste, they knew of Celeste, they heard she went missing. A lot of people said, I remember her beautiful curls, but out of all of those people, nobody, besides the one thing I just said, nobody really knew Celeste. They just didn't know her personally. Even the parents, a couple of the parents would see her, but nobody knew her family, nobody knew her personally that we've talked to that were at the school.
David has not been charged with anything. He is not a suspect. He is not even a person of interest. But that does not mean that he's not preparing to be one. Earlier on my NewsNation show, Banfield, I spoke with Alexandra Kazarian. She's a high-powered criminal defense attorney from Los Angeles and part of the firm Garagos and Garagos. Here's our conversation about what David might be facing right now. Alexandra, I keep wondering, and you're the perfect person to ask, what is David doing as we speak, especially now that we know Blair Burke is on the team?
He better be shutting his mouth. He better be absolutely quiet. He better be at home, wherever he is, doing nothing, not going anywhere, not talking to anybody, and just doing everything that she tells him to do, which is just sit there until I tell you what to do.
But what about the full download? Is this attorney saying, David, I need to know every single movement? Or is this attorney saying, don't tell me, I don't want to know, I just need to do my job?
Personally, I never ask until I need to, because that's not the point. The question is, what is the evidence that they have? What is the evidence that's out there? And I don't ever want to, there may be something that my client says that isn't in the realm of evidence, not because that they're guilty. A lot of times I have clients who tell me, I wasn't there, I didn't do this. And I say, hold on, I don't even want to know, because within the facts that they are giving to me, this already is not provable. So I don't want you to clutter my brain with what they have, because already within this universe, I can defeat these charges. So don't clutter my brain. I'm working on what the evidence is, because they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they can't, that's all I need.
So do you think it's possible that, I mean, here we are going on a month, right? And radio silence from the LAPD, no suggestion that this guy is a suspect or a person of interest. Is it a tactic to keep things quiet and allow the target to let his guard down and think that he's skating and is now free to roam about the cabin and talk to anyone he wants?
I mean, you never know why they're doing what they're doing. You never know what the state of their investigation is. But I think the LAPD, especially in cases like this, where you've had these cases long time ago where you find these women dismembered and in horrible situations, and the LAPD just really did not know what to do with these investigations. I think that their PR and their attorneys are telling them to be quiet too. They just don't have enough information to give any kind of information out into the public. So I think that if you're an attorney for the LAPD, if you're an attorney for the city of Los Angeles, you guys say absolutely nothing. You say nothing until you know exactly what's happening. And in this case, I cannot imagine that there's ever going to be a point where we know exactly what happened.
I'll say you don't usually see a Tesla like this as beat up as it is. It's marked all over the spoiler with marks, white marks, and it's got a big dent in it. You don't typically see it sitting in a Hollywood Hills neighborhood that has like super expensive topiaries right beside it, you know? It's just sort of a confounding sight. But I am curious about the toxicology. Do you think that that's the linchpin to all of this, that either they're waiting on the toxicology still weeks and weeks later, or they have every ability to put it at the front of the line when it's a high-profile case?
I think they have the ability to rush it. They have the ability to put it to the front of the line, absolutely. But again, I think the more information the LAPD puts out piecemeal, the worse it is for them. They just absolutely should not be doing that. They would be insane to give out pieces of information when they don't have an entire theory of prosecution.
Big question here. There's two issues, and not the least of which is that this is an underage girl. Did not make her 15th birthday. She spent it rotting in that trunk. Is it possible that there'll be no charges at all in this case? No murder, no sex charges, no underage crimes with children? Like, what do you see coming out of this, at the very least?
What is the evidence that we have that any crime occurred? Well, we know that there's a body in a trunk. But what evidence do we have connecting David to any actual crime? She told her friends that he was that they were in a relationship. What does that mean? She left her house. That was a very, very troubled situation. How do we know that he had anything to do with that? There's no evidence against this man for any crime that I can see.
How about witnesses? Because the friends of David spoke with TMZ, and they all held out that they thought that they were a couple. They held themselves out as a couple. She said that she was 19 and a college kid, and they were absolutely romantic.
Proving my point, if he thought that she was overage, then it's not a crime. But what does...
Oh, that's not true. Ignorance
what
of
is
the law.
romantic-
You can't have a relationship with an underage girl and say, well, she told me she was 19.
Hire me if that ever happens. Because I think you can.
I can trust you. I will hire you for so many other things than that, because I would hire you first if I were ever in trouble. Alexandra Kazarian, it's always good to have you. Thank you so much for this. So here's where things stand. The neighbors in Lake Elsinore confirmed that they saw a black Tesla just like David's creeping in at all hours. Celeste's classmates say she wasn't hiding her relationship with David. She was proud of it and showing off, showing pictures. And David, he's saying nothing, not a word. And he's lawyered up with one of Hollywood's heaviest hitters, Blair Burke. We'll keep digging, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and remember, the truth isn't just serious, it's drop dead serious.